everyone, my name's Jessica and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Jessica. I'm a mum of two children, Finley and George, who are 3 and 7. And in 2 weeks' time, we are heading off on a really magical trip to Walt Disney World. We went last year, this year we are going again, and this year is really exciting because I'm actually going to vlog our trip this year, which I'm really excited to do. We love watching Disney vlogs. We watch Disney vlogs as a family on a weekly basis. So we thought it'd be really exciting to film our own and kind of have those memories to look back on in the future. So in preparation for that, I thought I would upload some pre-Disney videos before we go. So today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some tips and tricks on how to survive Walt Disney World with 2 small children. If you do like today's video, please give it a big thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel, especially if you love watching Disney vlogs too, because in just a few weeks' time, we will have a whole series of Disney World vlogs for you guys to enjoy. So before we begin, I just wanted to say that these tips and tricks are things that worked for us as a family last year and things that we will probably be doing again this year, but obviously each family will have their own way of doing things and things that work for them. So if you do have any more tips or tricks how to deal with children in Walt Disney World, please comment down below because I'm sure we will all bounce ideas off each other. Okay, so tip number 1 is get to the parks nice and early. Make use out of your children waking up at 5 AM or 6 AM or whatever time they wake up. My children are early risers, so they are up normally about 5, 5:30, and when we're obviously at home, I just want to stay in bed for as long as I can, especially at the weekends, or at least until my alarm goes off. But in Walt Disney World, I feel like make the use out of them getting up early. Parks are less crowded, first thing, because they are also cooler. So obviously your children, if they're having to walk, we've got one in like pram age, so who's 3, he will be in a stroller or a pram, so he will obviously though want to walk a little bit. So earlier in the mornings it is much cooler in terms of the weather, so it'd be easy for children to walk around. Also, make use out of rope drop. So obviously with rope drop, you can access certain areas of the park and certain rides really early as soon as the park opens, and sort of everyone will queue and head to that area. So it's normally worth doing on some of the bigger rides, like in Animal Kingdom, getting there nice and early and rope dropping. Avatar, Flight of Passage. Obviously the waits are normally quite high for those unless you buy Lightning Lanes or Genie Plus. So it is probably worth rope dropping if there are bigger rides you and your children want to ride earlier in the morning, just to avoid queuing and especially in the hot weather. Okay, tip number 2, and I feel like this one might be a little controversial or I'll just have like mixed opinions on this, but this works for us. So we have 2 children. We have Finley, who's 3, and George, who is 7, and the tip for us is let your older children use a stroller or a pram because they walk a lot, and you know, us as adults, we walk what, 20,000, 25,000 steps a day in Walt Disney World, and our feet hurt at the end of the day. So obviously our children, their feet are going to hurt too. So we did look this year at purchasing or like renting a double stroller, so they both had somewhere to sit, but they are quite bulky, they're quite big. We didn't want to be sort of walking around the parks or getting on and off of the buses or having it in our room as this huge double stroller. So we are going to take our stroller from home, which is a single stroller. I'll link it down below. It worked really well for us last year. It's nice and lightweight. We can take it on the plane with us and then use it around the parks, and it meets all of Disney's requirements. But mainly it was for our 3-year-old Finley, who did make the most out of it. But George, who is 7, he was 6 last year, he did sit in it too. And it just meant that the 2 of them could take it in turns with having a rest in their feet. When Finley wants to get out and explore, which of course he does because he's 3, it just allows George somewhere to sit whilst we walk to other areas of the park. So tip number 3 then is pack like a mini survival kit. So if you are an organised parent, which most parents are, especially for going to Walt Disney World, but is packing a survival kit, which is going to include things like changes of clothes for the kids, ponchos, because you know what the rain can be like, so making sure you've got ponchos that are children's size as well, and then all the kind of things that they're going to need. So like hand sanitizer if there isn't somewhere to easily wash your hands before eating snacks, or for lunches and things like that. Hand sanitizer, sun cream, and using like an applicator that works for you and your family. So we've got something called the Sun Buddy. I'll link it down below if I can, but it makes it so much easier to apply sun cream to your children, especially if they can be a bit fussy, which mine can. And making sure we've got enough plasters. I know Disney are very good with supplying first aid supplies at each first aid location. We made a good use out of that last year with the amount of blisters that we got. But yeah, just making sure that you have all these things handy in your bag, nice, quickly and easy, just so then if something were to happen to your child, they're not going to be sort of too disrupted for too long or too distressed. You can just kind of see to them quite quickly because you do already have everything to hand. So tip number 4 then, and I feel like this is something that we learned last year whilst we were there and something that we will use again this year, or like put to good use this year, is don't overplan your day. So last year I would say we tried to plan our day like per the hour, like what we were doing next. And it made everything seem a bit more stressful because if you have been to Walt Disney World, you know that things don't always stick to the plan. Rides can go down, the weather can have a big hit on ride times and things like that. I would say have 2 or 3 things in your mind that you know you want to get done at that park on that day, and make that your goal to kind of get those things done. And then if you've got time, add in all the other bits, because then you won't avoid disappointment if you unfortunately can't get on one of the rides that you'd planned because it gone down because of the weather, or I don't know, if you couldn't get a table at one of the restaurants that you thought you wanted to eat at, or meeting a character because the lines are too long, those kind of things. So go in with a bit of like a rough plan, 2 or 3 things you know you want to do, and then if anything else happens, it's a bonus for the day. So tip number 5 is having snacks and entertainment ready for the children for queue times, for transfers, things like that. So for us, what we did, we stayed on property, but we went to Target on the first day of our holiday and we stocked up the room with lots of different snacks, and we bought sandwich bags. This was great because we often used to have breakfast actually in the parks rather than at the hotel first, and often the kids would wake up hungry. We would get them dressed, ready for the day, which is like a bit reverse on what we'd normally do at home with having breakfast first and then getting ready. So what we used to do is make use out of having these sandwich bags, and we would fill it up with things like graham crackers, fruit, goldfish crackers, those kind of things, just so then the kids had something to nibble on the way to the parks, on the way to breakfast. Because the moment that you leave your room to the moment that you actually get to the place where you're going to have breakfast in the park, especially if you're rope dropping something first, it could be like an hour to an hour and a half after they've woken up. So having those snacks readily available for the first thing in the morning worked really well for us. Also having some entertainment for the children in queues, so we would have like games on our phones that we would be able to play as a family. We would have packs of like Top Trumps, which are really like small card games that you can just slot into your bag, especially if the waits were like 30 minutes plus. The kids would perhaps get a little bit bored, impatient, and Disney normally really great. Most of the rides are actually interactive, so you have a lot of the queues at the beginning. There are a lot of things to play with, there are a lot of things to do, a lot of things to see, but some rides the children do get a little bit bored waiting to actually get on the ride, so we do have some entertainment in our bags usually to keep them entertained before we get on the ride. So next tip is tip number 6, I think, is character meet and greets, and it's about planning character meet and greets. There are so many different characters you're available to meet in each of the Disney parks. Now, the queues for these meet and greets can be absolutely huge, and usually they aren't interactive queues, so your children perhaps are going to get a little bit bored or tired. So I would say plan the characters that you want to meet. So before you actually go on to the holiday, maybe use the Walt Disney World app and sit and look at the characters, or ask your children the type of characters they would want to meet whilst you're in that particular park. And I would say like have 1 or 2 per day that you know that you want to meet. Anything extra, just like with planning your day in the previous tip, is going to be a bonus, but have like 1 or 2, know the locations, know what time they open. And also with character meet and greets, remember to take your autograph books. So we would buy a autograph book and a pen inside the hotel shop that we're staying in, or at Disney Springs on the first day of the holiday, and make sure you keep that in your backpack. Always keep it in like a Polly Pocket or in like a Walt Disney World gift bag, just in case your bag does get wet because of the Florida weather, or if you're going down Tiana's Bayou Adventure with your bag, just making sure that you don't ruin any of the autographs. And An extra tip, always make sure that your pen lid is off or the pen is switched on before the characters sign the character book. So tip number 7 then is going to be scheduling breaks and making sure that you take time to rest, especially for the children, but for you as parents too. So we know that for our children, hungry and tired children means that probably at some point in the near future we're going to have some tantrums. The heat doesn't help when it is incredibly warm in Walt Disney World. It can make the children more hungry, more tired, more grumpy. So we make sure that we schedule time throughout the day. So between sort of breakfast and lunch, we will have a mid-morning like snack or a sit down, or we will schedule time around the hottest time of the day. We will book in to watch a show like the Frozen Ever After show in Epcot, Hollywood Studios, or Animal Kingdom. We will go and watch The Lion King, something where it's a bit more chilled, something where there's air conditioning, something where the kids can sit down and rest their legs, and watch something quite entertaining whilst getting a bit of a rest as well. So just making sure, it's a long day in the park, so you're normally there sometimes between like, well, depending on what park you're there, but between like 7:30 until maybe, I don't know, 10 p.m. at night. So for us really, we, on the first sort of few days, we tried going to the park in the morning and then going back to the resort around lunchtime to have a bit of a rest and then going back in the evening. We actually felt for us as a family that that made us more tired because there was quite a lot of walking to the bus stop and then there was walking back to the room, and then the kids often then weren't exactly tired, they just were sort of a bit restless and wanted to go out and do things. So like I say, for us what we would do is at that time where it's hottest part of the day, kids are getting a little bit tired, we'll book in to watch like an hour-long show. Kids can then have a sit down, a little rest, Finley can have a sleep if he needs to in the pram, and we'll get a little bit of air conditioning, and then we can carry on with the rest of our day. So the next tip then I feel like is really, really important, and that is embrace the Disney magic, like enjoy it, but do not be upset if things don't go to plan all the time. If you are someone that follows social media, more like Instagram and TikTok, where they have like short filmed videos where everything just looks magical, the kids are happy, everyone's going really, really well during their day, they're getting the rides they want, they're meeting the characters. Just remember, you're only seeing a really sort of short snapshot of that person's day, and don't go with the expectation that everything is going to be perfect, because anything can happen on holiday. The weather can make our children sad, the heat can make the children sad, if they're hungry, they're tired, a certain ride is down, there are going to be some tantrums, and it's better to go with thinking that they're going to happen and just kind of knowing how to handle them. But that said, Disney is magical, enjoy it and just have the best time. And the last tip then I would say is just capture everything. For some people, this is a really expensive holiday. I mean, for most people, it is a very, very expensive holiday. We are very lucky that we have been able to go 2 years in a row. We won't be going next year because we are trying to save for a house, but it is a really incredible holiday. So expensive, and for some people it is a once in a lifetime thing. So capture every moment with your children. The Disney World tickets from the UK all include the Memory Maker, which is a great tool, so make sure you utilise it. Every photo opportunity, if there is a short queue and your kids are up for it, go and have your picture taken outside the castle, go and have it outside the Tree of Life. Capture your pictures on the rides and just savour everything. I can't wait to vlog this year. I want to put out the vlogs there for other people to enjoy, but one of the biggest reasons I want to put them out there is so we've got something to look back on. But just take pictures, take videos, take clips, have the best time and embrace it. So that is my tips and tricks video for going to Walt Disney World with small children. Like I said though, these are just tips that worked for us. Obviously it may be different from family to family, but if you do have any tips that you think would help other people that I missed out, please drop them in the comments box down below. And I will see you in another video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you did enjoy, please subscribe. Thank you, bye.